Brilliant. Thank you, Chris. We're going to change the world. Well, I'm not quite sure how to follow on from that, but I'll do my little bit to try and change the world. It's fantastic to be here. It is super to see so many familiar faces, but also to see so many unfamiliar faces. For those of you that I don't know, my name is Imran, and I am the trustee for the UK's open banking programme. I'm going to say a few words now about open banking. I'd love to kick off by putting open banking in context. I think I still need to do that because whilst for many it has become a life's passion, for others it still is the best kept secret in financial services. And fair enough. The world of fintech is blessed with headline-grabbing achievements. The challenger banks, after many years, are breaking into the mainstream. The smart money is buying up payments, often at eye-watering valuations. And the crypto believers are having their fun in the sun and making regulators and central banks sit up and take notice. But what about open banking? It's a compliance thing, right? What's headline grabbing about that? Well, yes, it is a compliance thing, but you know what? It is a pro-competition compliance thing. One that is going to empower users and unleash a ton of innovation. I think it's just a matter of time before open banking enters the mainstream. Open banking is relevant because at its heart, its ambition is bold. Its ambition is to rebalance the market for financial services away from banks and towards consumers, SMEs, and fintechs. In leveling the playing field, it is intended to bring in more competition and more innovation. Its ambition is to allow fintechs to offer innovative financial services without having to become banks, to reduce the stranglehold of the cards companies on payments. And in doing so, we hope that it's going to make our large banks more competitive and give our fintechs more opportunity. Open banking is also ambitious because it's built on a very big idea. It taps into this fundamental idea that our data, specifically our financial data, is valuable. And we should be able to use it to get a better deal out of financial services. Open banking puts consumers first. Its ambition is to help consumers and SMEs better engage with financial services, to make better decisions and improve their own financial health. And open banking is relevant because it is a global phenomenon. Perhaps as many as 50 countries across the world, countries large and small, have open banking programs in consultation, design, or implementation. They see the importance of open banking in empowering customers, loosening the grip of big banks, growing fintech sectors. Some of them are pursuing open banking simply because they see it as a data right. Your right to be able to access and share your data as you wish. Something far bigger than just financial services. Everyone knows about the EU's efforts around PSD2 and the great work being done in Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, Israel, Mexico, and Brazil, to name but a few. But I was pleasantly surprised, no, amazed, to also learn of President Biden's intention to put the US on a course to adopt open banking. Just last Friday, President Biden issued an executive order calling on their Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB, to issue rules allowing customers to download their banking data and take it with them, promoting an overhaul of consumer data guidelines. By giving consumers full control of their financial data and making it easier for them to switch lenders, the US is hoping to create a competitive environment for fintechs and proponents of open banking to prosper. And finally, open banking is relevant because it is a precursor to something much bigger. This basic idea that consumers own their data is not restricted to banking. It can be applied to financial services, for example, mortgages, savings, pensions, insurance. In the UK, we term this open finance. But also to other utility-style industries, such as energy, telecoms, and even big tech. We call this smart data. But we are behind the curve on this. In some geographies like Australia, they are starting with the concept and working backwards. For them, this has never been about banking. This is a story about consumer data rights, and open banking is just a first step in that direction. In some regards, GDPR has held us back. The Consumer Data Right, or CDR, the Australian version of GDPR, has at its heart data portability and interoperability. And they see this approach as being extensible into big tech, where the issues of data monopolies is even more acute. And here in the UK, the CMA will be unveiling plans for the Digital Markets Unit later on this year for looking precisely into that area. But I digress. Are all open banking's ambitions actually achievable? Well, I think so. We're just in the very early stages, the earliest stages of open banking rollout, but I think the signs are really encouraging. Where are we today? I think about where we are today in terms of implementation, participation, and adoption. I'm pleased to say that we are approximately 90% finished with implementation. The majority of the functionality has or will be delivered shortly, and the performance of the bank's APIs is continually improving. On the topic of participation, our ecosystem has grown very strongly, going from 204 regulated providers to 319 as of June this year. And there are now 114 regulated entities with at least one live proposition available for consumers. And the breadth of innovation really is inspiring. Of course, we've seen the early adopters in the PFM space, in the cloud accounting space for small businesses, but what I'm really inspired by are some of the things that we didn't expect to see. Debt charities using open banking data to try and help vulnerable customers out of debt problems. Vulnerable customers being helped by fintechs that are trying to support them to improve their health and well-being. And even, Chris, fintechs using open banking data to try and help people create carbon diaries to try and do something about climate change. In terms of adoption, I'm really pleased to announce that we have almost 4 million UK people and small businesses using open banking enabled services. And it has been tremendously rewarding to watch the milestones of user adoption being achieved. The activity today is dominated by data. Uptake is particularly strong amongst small businesses during the pandemic. Payments is growing very fast. And adoption by major institutions like HMRC is a game changer. Yes, you can now pay your taxes through open banking. It wasn't the most obvious use case, but it is a major endorsement for the ecosystem. And many large companies with large customer bases are cautiously watching open banking from the sidelines. In consultancy speak, it's interesting how many of them want to be a fast follower, but none of them wants to be a laggard. I wish them the best with that strategy. It's a very fine line to tread. So open banking may not be mainstream yet, but the trend, in my view, is clear. And open banking's achievements so far have very clearly marked out the UK as a world leader in open banking. The Australians, and now the Brazilians and Mexicans, are leaning heavily on the UK approach and the UK standards for their versions of open banking. And I expect, given the recent announcement in the US, the Americans will be picking up the phone very soon. When it comes to Europe, we are using the same rulebook as the Europeans, PSD2, and yet they are struggling with implementation. I'll let you into a secret. It's because we have something called an implementation entity. And I'd like to say a few words about the open banking implementation entity, which for the benefit of brevity, I'll refer to as the OBIE. The OBIE is the beating heart of the open banking ecosystem. What does it do in practice? Well, it designs and maintains the technical and user experience standards. It also builds and runs central infrastructure, and of course, it holds the large banks to account. But crucially, the OBIE is the center of gravity for the ecosystem, pulling participants together, solving their issues, and promoting open banking. The OBIE has had a phenomenally important role to play. It has had to transform an industry that didn't want to be transformed, so that open banking could emerge as a suite of highly performing, secure, and standardized APIs. I'm pleased to say that, in my view, the foundations of open banking are in place. I'm proud of what the OBIE team has accomplished. A lot of hard work has gone into this, not just by the OBIE, but the banks, the fintechs, the consumer representatives. And we now have a thriving ecosystem with more than 700 entities in place. So what's in the pipeline? Well, the eagle-eyed among you will note that there is still a major piece of functionality on the regulatory roadmap that has not yet been delivered. I hope to announce soon that the OBIE will be tasked with implementing sweeping. Sweeping is the automatic transfer of funds between a customer's own accounts. For example, topping up a saving account or reducing interest on overdrafts. The functionality that I'm proposing is something open banking aficionados call variable recurring payments. But to the rest of us, it looks and feels like digital direct debits. I think this has the potential to be a game changer for payments, something genuinely new and innovative. And I hope to hear imminently from the CMA regards implementing this exciting new payment type, and, if approved, would hope to have it in production by the end of the year. There's much to look forward to as open banking gathers momentum. The UK is a recognized world leader, but if we are to maintain this leading world position, we need to get the last bit right. The mandate for open banking is coming to an end. That is a good thing. It has always been part of the plan to transition open banking out of the regulatory sphere and into industry. But it is crucial that this is done right. It is crucial that the good work isn't undone and that open banking can become a platform for other products and services. I therefore do not underestimate the importance of the forthcoming decision by the CMA on the future of the OBIE. And I look for them to safeguard three important principles. Firstly, independence. The OBIE should be able to continue to operate independently of vested industry interests and for the benefit of all participants. Stewardship. The OBIE should be able to continue to maintain, evolve, and promote the standards for the good of consumers and the whole ecosystem. And extensibility. The learnings, standards, and infrastructure should be made available to other products, for example, open finance, and sectors, for example, smart data, to ensure users have a simple, secure, and harmonized way of accessing their data. I think if we get this right, then the UK can continue to flourish as an open banking leader and set the standard for the rest of the world to follow. Thank you very much for your time. Now gives me great privilege to hand over to Ron Khalifa. Ron is the most recently, well, I should say has most recently authored the Fintech Review on behalf of the UK government. And of course, you'll all know in the past he was the CEO of WorldPay. So I invite you all to give him a very warm welcome.